Hello, hello, hello. This is Solar Simone coming to you, talking to you from my YouTube channel, Solar Simone Astrology, where I talk about all things astrology and pop culture and a little bit of art. So this is going to be a little bit of a Crate With Me video while I talk about the astrology of September. As you watch along as I create the spread for my September bullet journal, doing the cover. So this is featuring an illustration that I created for my Patreon members. I did a little coloring book, a coloring illustration featuring Virgo. So you're going to watch me color that in and then talk about the astrology of September. Glad to have you here. So before we get into it, let's just talk about what my channel is about and generally what I'm going to be doing for the next 20 minutes that you're here with me. So I created this astrology channel back last year in 2023 because I wanted to talk about all things pop culture and astrology, and I also wanted a way to incorporate my astrology and my art practices because I also am a visual artist, as you're going to see. So I actually kind of created the illustration that you're seeing below for Virgo season because I wanted to create like a Virgo season print. So it's actually kind of based on a selfie of me. Now listen, I have a Leo moon, so I had to do it. But yeah, it's based on a selfie of me, and it's kind of like a dramatized version of me as the zodiac sign of Virgo. Virgo is known to be the zodiac sign of the Virgin, so usually it's depicted as a young woman with wheat surrounding her, because Virgo also represents wheat and the harvest, since Virgo tends to be during the harvest time in the northern hemisphere, so that Virgo tends to kind of illustrate or herald in fall. So that's kind of why there's association with wheat and also a virgin. Yeah, so that is me showing off my bullet journal spread for last month, which was August. I'm super proud of it. It's kind of a take and a rendition that I did for August 2020 spread, which is the last time that I actually was like seriously bullet journaling. So that's just me flipping through the pages. So I'm going to do like a similar weekly spread for the month of September. And then I have the August reflections where I just like to think about, just reflect on things that have gone on the past month and things that I'd like to do better in the upcoming month. So that is me kind of showing off my different illustrations that I did. So I printed it out in 3 different sizes because I wasn't quite sure which one would fit in my actual bullet journal. So that's just me kind of figuring out which of them was actually going to be like more of a perfect fit for the actual journal. So I'm going to color it out. I'm going to color it and then I'm going to cut it out and then paste it into my bullet journal, because why do twice the work? Because I've already done this on my iPad. So I was like, why copy it again when I've already done the drawing or the illustration? So yeah, that illustration is me with some fields or flowers of wheat. It's kind of me. It's a little bit of like a exaggerated version of me, like the goddess level version of me, so that's kind of what's going on. But while I on camera color in this lovely version of me as Virgo, as Persephone, as Virgo tends to be who we view as the Virgin, and Virgo with the myth of Persephone and Demeter. But yeah, so let me just kind of get into the actual astrology of September, because there's a lot going on. I would say September as a whole is kind of a little bit of a quieter month. It's definitely quieter than August, and it also is, I think, more peaceful than October is going to be. So I feel like September is more of a respite for kind of like the astrology that we're going to be having for the rest of the year, but especially the astrology we're going to be having next month. So yeah, so getting into it, the first major thing that we have happening on September 2nd is Pluto retrograde enters Capricorn. So after spending the summer in her new home of Aquarius, Pluto finally takes one last glance at her former home of Capricorn, residing there until the end of November. For the past 15 years, Pluto in Capricorn has ushered in a new world financial order, heralding the Great Recession of 2008 and carrying us into the pandemic of 2020. Now, Pluto heads into Aquarius, but before she can set up shop at her new place, she must take one final look at where she came from. For a lot of people with cardinal placement or cardinal ascendants, so that would be my Aries, Cancer, Libra, and Capricorn risings, this transit of Pluto in Capricorn might mean wrapping up a story that's centered around a key area of life. Usually that's going to be around a journey involving self, family, partnerships, or legacy. Fixed risings, however, and that would be Taurus, Leo, Scorpio, and Aquarius risings, it's best to take a breather over the next few months as you prepare to be astrology's new main character once Pluto leaves Capricorn for good and re-enters Aquarius. So I think that Pluto in Capricorn is kind of a momentous time because it's the last time that Pluto's going to be in Capricorn for like our lifetimes, like for 200 more years. So for some people, that is a big celebration. I think that for people who have a lot of fixed placements, so people who have stuff in Leo, Taurus, Aquarius, and Scorpio, that might be a little bit frightening because now, like I said, you're going to become like the new main character and things are going to focus on you in a new way, and you're going to have a lot of really dramatic changes kind of happening in your life over the next 20 years. But it is a slow burn transit because Pluto is so far away, and Pluto is more of a generational transit, so this will kind of affect more swaths of people. So specifically the Pluto in Leo generation, the Pluto in Taurus generation, they're even alive, but also specifically the Pluto and Scorpio generation, because Pluto and Scorpio generation is millennials. So millennials will also be feeling their first Pluto square, so that could also be pretty interesting. On September 3rd, we have a new moon at 11 degrees and 4 minutes of Virgo. As with every new moon, this is an excellent time to reset and center yourself, your aspirations, and your goals. Ruled by a Mercury in Leo that is averse to both the sun and the moon, this new moon may feel like it lacks some agency and drive as previous ones. Facing an opposition to Saturn in Pisces and a wide square from Mars in Gemini, this formation may feel more sluggish and frustrating than active and empowering. Luckily, Jupiter in Gemini also squares this new moon, injecting a dose of some much-needed optimism. For this new moon, I'd recommend taking it slow and resting, maybe even jotting down some ideas about how you'd like to structure your days going forward. As I've written before, Virgo is a sign that deeply understands order as a concept, and that the best order sometimes can be one that is adaptable. So if you've been feeling trapped in your own life and rigid in far too many ways, this new moon in Virgo invites you to envision new ways of structuring and ordering your reality so that it truly suits you. Now let's move into Mars enters Cancer on September 4th. So for the next 2 months, Mars will be in the sign of its fall Cancer as it prepares to enter Leo and then retrograde back into Cancer once again. And this will be Mars retrograding Cancer and Leo. Unfortunately, every time Mars retrogrades, it spends way too much time in one sign, and this is no exception. Mars in Cancer is more volatile than the usual because Mars lacks the environment necessary to truly be constructive. If Mars in exaltation of Capricorn is strong-willed, silent, and precise, like a sniper or a cold-blooded assassin, then Mars in Cancer becomes a loud-mouthed toddler, throwing things without care for precision or accuracy. In Cancer, Mars may be slow to take arms, but when he does, he harms indiscriminately, adding a more unpredictable flair to the whole transit. For cardinal risings, which include me, for Aries, Libra, Capricorn, and Cancer risings, especially Cancer risings, this transit may mean that you're more accident prone. It also might mean that you have more strife and upheaval within your partnerships, family, and career. Your best bet for this transit is to stay cautious and vigilant and try not to upset anybody else more than you have to. So this is kind of the start of a 8-month long cycle up until February of 2025, if you can really believe it. That's kind of when this whole thing will actually really start to wind down, but it's something to take note of as we enter September, how Mars in Cancer treats you this month, because a lot of those themes will be replicated throughout the rest of these next 8 months. So this is where I say the best day of the month, which is actually really early. It's September 5th, and that's because we have Moon in Libra conjunct Venus in Libra, and then it's trine Jupiter in Gemini. So this is actually kind of really sweet because we have a nice benefic enclosure of the moon. And those don't happen super often, but this one is especially nice because we have Venus in domicile. So Venus is ruling the moon, but she also is conjunct the moon. So it's just kind of a sweet little thing that we don't get too often. Unfortunately, we have this like once a year because Venus only is going to stay in Libra for only, I think, 3 weeks, which is less than how long it takes the moon to come back around through the zodiac sign. But we still get to enjoy it on September 5th. So this is the sweetest day of the month, comes after the new moon in Virgo, as the moon in Libra gets to smooch her ruler Venus finally. Then, after a conjunction to the lovely Venus in Libra, the moon trines Jupiter in Gemini, completing this welcome lover's embrace. This day is great for going on a date, hanging out with friends and loved ones, and just generally enjoying the company of another, as the moon in Libra is as relational as it gets. Going shopping and getting a new haircut or otherwise finding new ways to change your appearance is also another excellent way to enjoy this transit. So, funnily enough, after we have the best day of the month, I think we have the worst days of the month, which is going to be September 7th through September 8th. So this is because the moon will be now in Scorpio, which is the moon's fall, and it'll be trine Mars in Cancer, and then it'll be trine Saturn retrograde at 16 degrees of Pisces. So basically going from a benefic inclusion in which the moon is super happy because it's sandwiched between the benefics, Venus and Jupiter, now we go to where the moon is not happy at all because it's in the sign of her fall, Scorpio, and it also is making aspects to both Mars and Saturn, which would be a malefic enclosure. So after the moon in Libra, the moon enters Scorpio, where she immediately is faced with hardship, meeting with Mars and then heading towards Saturn. While the moon completes a grand water trine with both Mars and Saturn, she still doesn't enjoy being besieged, no matter how friendly the aspect is. This would be a great day to be more mindful of your body, making sure to eat, stretch, shower, and sleep in whatever ways you need to. The moon in Scorpio can also mean bodily and emotional discomfort, so it's important that you're taking care of your physical self as much as possible so that the malefics don't win. And that's what you want, right? You don't want the malefics to win. Okay, then later on in the month, like about a couple days later, we get Mercury re-enters Virgo. Now, I love Mercury in Virgo as a transit. I always get so much writing done. So that's another thing about me. I wear many hats. I'm a bag of multidisciplinary interests, and so I also do nonfiction and fiction writing. I mean, I wrote this entire script, but the script is basically just my newsletter, so that's what I'll do right now. I'll plug my newsletter. So if you're interested in having the written format of everything that I'm saying without my little rambling diatribes, you can visit my newsletter, which is Solarpunk Rising, on Substack by me, Solar Simone. So yeah, I love Mercury and Virgo because I feel like I always get so much writing done, and I also think I just feel more confident with my writing, and I feel more secure in what I'm writing, and I just feel like it's just a really positive transit. Also, I'm in a Virgo year, my third house Virgo year, and I have the North Node of Virgo, so I feel like Mercury transiting my North Node is always kind of me being like, yes, I feel like Penelope Featherington from Bridgerton, like that gif of her like looking up and like, you know, writing, like I feel like that's me every time Mercury enters Virgo and crosses over my North Node. But yeah, so Mercury, the god of commerce and communication and commuting, finally re-enters its preferred domicile of Virgo on September 9th. After an intense and chaotic Mercury retrograde in Leo and Virgo, Mercury finally stops sleepwalking and heads in the actual direction. Although Mercury retrograde can be beneficial in its own right, I mean sometimes we need to go backwards in order to go forward again, it's still a relief to be free from technological mishaps, and for my upcoming essay about Virgo, I had this to say. Mercury is Virgo's favorite place in the zodiac to be. As both their domicile and exaltation, Mercury, the planet of communication and commerce, enjoys Virgo because it contends with refinement itself. Unlike the overwhelming, fact-spewing home of Gemini, Virgo takes the harvest and makes a feast out of it. Because ultimately Virgo is about determining what you value, deciding what is food and what is waste, what is necessary and what is excess, what is relevant and what is irrelevant. Virgo judges, discards, and refines, braiding together information tighter and tighter into itself. So yeah, that's kind of what I would say about Mercury and Virgo. Mercury and Virgo is an excellent time to sharpen your pen and put words to paper, articulating yourself in ways you never thought possible. If you're not a writer, this transit is still amazing for organizing, rearranging, and finding new ways to refine your life, because Virgo is a mutable sign after all, so there's a lot of changeability in Virgo. Maybe there's a box of receipts you've been waiting to comb through, or a new way to rearrange dishes in your kitchen cabinets, or whatever it is that Mercury and Virgo has your back, and it is ready to provide the extra boost of organizational willpower. So yeah, so I'm super excited for Mercury and Virgo, and that we're going to be able to have the redo, because the first time around we obviously had the retrograde and everything going on, so now we just get to have Mercury and Virgo in a very nice pure way. All right, so let's talk about September 18th, which is the full moon lunar eclipse in Pisces. So this is the first eclipse we're going to be getting in Pisces, And yeah, let's talk about it. About 6 months ago, we had our last round of eclipses in Aries and Libra. And now we begin with a new journey as the lunar nodes prepare to change signs, giving us a new set of energies to work with. As the first lunar eclipse in Pisces for this new cycle, this lunation is sure to be powerful, awe-inspiring, and deeply life-changing. Pisces as an energy is very forgiving, oftentimes representing true compassion and deep everlasting love. Ruled by detriment Jupiter and Gemini, this eclipse may feel less hopeful and more confusing as Jupiter is spread thin and more scatterbrained than usual. However, prepare for the Pisces part of your chart to be completely revolutionized by this eclipse. Eclipses are massive catalysts for change that can trigger important growth. The upcoming Pisces lunar eclipse is a North Node eclipse, and those tend to show us what we are obsessive about and ravenous for, often pushing us to question what we desire and why. Since the North Node is about lack of satisfaction, obsession, and perilous desire, expect this eclipse to be one that might inspire you to hunger for things that feel just out of reach. Oftentimes, the North Node gets pushed in favor of the South Node as we tend to associate endless growth or increase with productivity. However, the North Node is malefic in nature because it represents a hunger that is never satisfied. The head of the dragon eats and eats and eats, but can never fill the empty stomach where the body once was. Ultimately, the North Node represents a desire that can drive you mad if you aren't careful about it, which is why there needs to be a balance between both axes. Mostly, I've seen the North Node eclipse enact powerful changes that completely revolutionize people's lives by giving them the courage to focus on potentially neglected areas. During the eclipse season, it's important to remember that change is eternal, and oftentimes the best thing we can do for ourselves is to give into it. If anything major happens to you this eclipse season, please let me know. I always live on the lookout for some very good eclipse season stories, just because the eclipse can really be a massive catalyst for change depending on what house it is. And for me, this is going to be happening in the 9th house, and I already am learning and living abroad, so I wonder if something educational will happen to me. I'm wondering if it'll affect my family. But yeah, just let me know about how the eclipses go for you guys. I want to hear about it next month. Alright, let's talk about September 22nd, which is when the sun enters Libra, and we finally will be having Libra season because we needed some air in the sky. So, although Virgo season has been wonderful for cleaning out the damage done by the terrible Astro weather of Leo season, it's time to move on and have some even more fresh air as the sun enters Libra on September 22nd. As the cardinal sign ruled by Venus, Libra enjoys intellectual stimulation as much as any other air sign. However, instead of the endless chatter of Gemini or the icy haughtiness of Aquarius, Libra loves the back and forth of a good, well-mannered debate, leaning into the relational pleasure that Venus has to offer. While the transition between Virgo and Libra might feel unsettling, probably akin from going to a strict, quiet library to a lively dinner party, it's necessary to change that allows us to explore the most social and friendly parts of ourselves. Libra teaches us about what it means to be balanced and how to consider and listen to both sides of a story. Through Libra, we meet justice and its scales that balance both accountability and grace, dishing out both for whoever encounters judgment. As a cardinal sign, Libra initiates conversation, seeking out new people to explore life with. As the life of the party, Libra flits around social engagements as a socialite that's eager to please. Never one to be a bad host, Libra makes sure that everyone has a good time, from the grumpy wildflower to the talkative friend. This Libra season, I implore you to be more outgoing and more extroverted. Talk to the side person leaning against the wall at a function, invite your friends out for a night out on the town, and make jokes with the party's host. Whatever it is, do it with others and discover how fun it is to be the glue that brought everyone else together. Alright, so unfortunately for the babies that are being born during this upcoming Libra season, Venus goes right into Scorpio, the sign of her detriment, right as the sun ingresses into Libra on September 23rd, literally the next day. As soon as Libra season begins, Venus, her ruler, leaves her domicile to enter the shadowy land of Scorpio. If there's one word I would use to sum up Venus and Scorpio, it would be intense. This is not a transit to play with. Venus's normally lighthearted nature goes out the window as she dips her toes into the bloodthirsty battleground of Mars. Venus in Scorpio is interested in wearing her lover's blood and a bottle around her neck and wants to rip out the heart of anyone who dares to cross her and her boo. Jealousy and possession are two words that Venus in Scorpio understands super well, and convincing her out of those two states of mind is a battle well fought and lost. This transit is excellent for cuffing season and for anyone who wants to wear the skin of their new paramour. If you're looking for a romance that's a little bit more lighthearted, I would suggest skipping dating over the next couple weeks until Venus gains more levity in Sagittarius. Although Venus in Scorpio is a little bit kind of rough for Venus when you're talking about transit wise, I love Venus in Scorpio natives. I'm a Venus in Capricorn, so that means that Venus in Scorpio is sextile to my own natal Venus. So I tend to get along really well with Venus and Scorpio people. I think it's just because I understand their intensity and I understand that kind of like do or die, like sort of nature and that like, you know, intense sort of like, okay, vibe. I also just understand that they really want someone who is like down for them and like will truly ride for them until the end of time. And I think as Capricorn, also being a martial sign, I think we respect the commitment and like the seriousness that Venus and Scorpio brings to love, because I'm not here to play any games, to be honest. So yeah. All right, let's talk about the final transit of the month, the final most important transit of the month, I should say. That will happen on September 26th when Mercury enters Libra. So towards the end of the month, Mercury enters Libra, trading in their books for some fun and socializing. Chatter is abundant with this transit, as Mercury enjoys the flexibility of being in an air sign. Being in a cardinal sign, Mercury finds pleasure in initiating conversation with strangers and revels in a good old-fashioned exchange of ideas. However, as an air sign, Libra remains indecisive, and this unsure energy could have Mercury confused and stuck deliberating. This is still the perfect transit for hour-long phone calls, flirty banter with your crush, and incessant yapping at the next party you find yourself at. Personally, I still love Mercury in Virgo more than Mercury in Libra. However, I do have a Mercury in Aquarius, so it'll be nice to have that little trine towards from like Mercury transiting and hitting my natal Mercury. Also, I'm in a Mercury year, so that could be a little bit of boost in something. Maybe that'll also help my writing, or maybe it'll help my socializing and help me to be able to like get new people coming to like my writers group and everything. I think that could be like really fun. But yeah, thank you so much for listening to this video, my first ever create with me as I talk about astrology. Yeah, let me know if you want any more content that's similar to this. Personally, I like talking like this into my microphone. I feel like a smooth radio operator. I feel like I'm in my, radio star bag. So to wrap up this video, if you are interested in the coloring sheet that I was seen coloring throughout this video, you can get it at my Patreon, which I will link in the description. If you cannot support me on Patreon, there are other ways to support me, namely through my Substack, which I have a paid version and I also have a free version of. The paid version is only $5 a month and you get some really cool in-depth articles that I've worked really hard on. If you can't be a paid subscriber, I would love it if you were also just a free subscriber, because I'd love for people to read my newsletter, which you get this for free. So yeah, see you next time.